Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be going through my Letterboxd diary and talking about everything I watched last month in July. These kinds of videos are more casual than my proper movie review videos where I kind of just give mini reviews of everything I watched that month, and at the end I highlight what my favorite and least favorite film of the month was, which only includes first time watches. Also in the description box, I've put timestamps for all of the different films I've watched, so if you want to just jump to one of the films to see what I thought about it, you can do it there. Last month I didn't watch too much. There's 8 films on this list to be exact, but it was a pretty positive month, so let's jump right in. I started the month of July by watching Rocketman. Rocketman is a fantasy musical based on Elton John's life. The film follows Elton's journey from shy piano prodigy to international superstar and shines a light on his tumultuous relationships with his parents and manager and his struggle with addiction. This is a little bit off-brand for my channel, and a little fun fact that while I do love horror films, I'm also a massive fan of musicals, and Rocketman has got to be one of my favorite films of all time. I've actually watched it probably 7 or 8 times since it was released in 2019. I saw it twice in the cinemas. I am in love with this film. Rocketman is a super vibrant and colourful film, and it's so much fun, but there's also lots of parts that are really emotional and dark as well. I've been a fan of Elton John since I was a kid. I grew up listening to his music, and so I've always appreciated him as an artist. But after watching this film, it really made me appreciate all the struggles he had to overcome, and yeah, it's crazy what he had to go through. One of my favorite parts of the film is the relationship between Elton John and Bernie Taupin, his writing partner. It's so wholesome, and of course the music is amazing. You'll be singing along. I know I was the first time, and every other time I've watched this. It's such a good time. But I won't go on about this too much because it is not really what this channel's about. But I gave this a 5 out of 5. Perfect film. Love it. Moving on from that, I then watched The Unholy. A disgraced journalist visits a small town covering a fluff piece when he comes across a story which will reinvigorate his career. A hearing impaired girl is miraculously able to hear, talk, and heal others after seeing an apparition of the Virgin Mary. However, after some terrifying events, he begins to question if this is a work of the Virgin Mary or something else. So I'll start this off by saying that I went into this film not expecting much. I remember at the time of release, I just saw an overwhelming amount of negative reviews, pretty much saying it was trash, and that's pretty much what I got. There are so many things wrong with this film. I don't even know where to start. Bad writing, cheesy CGI, cheap jump scares, the list just goes on. So many things would happen to this film that just made me roll my eyes. It was just ridiculous. I don't know how they got Jeffrey Dean Morgan on board. I generally like him in other things that he's been in, but even he's not good in this. It's like he knew what this was. Anyway, I didn't enjoy this. I gave this a 1.5 out of 5. Next, I watched Incantation. After violating a religious taboo years prior, a woman is plagued by a curse and is desperately trying to protect her daughter, who is now being inflicted by the evil caused by her past actions. Incantation is a Taiwanese mockumentary-style found-footage horror film, which I actually have some mixed feelings about. First off, it is an effective horror film in the sense that it's scary, like really scary. It also has great special effects that will make your skin crawl, and although it's not totally a unique concept, the execution and the intricacies do make it feel fresh. But for me, parts of it just felt disjointed at times and messy, and parts just didn't make sense to me. Like, it was illogical why they continued to film. Some of the decisions of the characters just didn't make sense. It was just strange. And I don't know, I just felt like the film felt off. When I initially went into this film, I thought that it was a cut and dry found footage film. And I feel like that's why I have some of these negative feelings towards it, because there were parts that deviated from the format and it kind of felt jarring to me. However, after watching this, I found out that it is meant to be a mockumentary style film, and I don't know if that's just my bad, but going in, it just wasn't obvious to me that it was meant to be that style, so things just kept getting me off guard and just pulling me out of the experience. There's also lots of timeline jumps, which I'm not usually opposed to. I don't usually have an issue with that, but I don't know, I just think all of these elements together, it just made the experience a bit strange for me. So really, my main issue was with the execution of the film, but the parts that they executed well was executed really well. Like the scares are so well done, and really it jumps straight in from the beginning. It doesn't mess around, and from there it just keeps delivering on the scare factor. Anyway, take from that what you will. I think I need to give it another watch now, knowing that it is a mockumentary style as opposed to cut and dry found footage. I think that my score, it may be a little unfair just because of this, but I gave it a 2.5 out of 5, but we'll see if that can change after a second watch. I'll let you know. Next on my list is The Black Phone. A suburb in North Denver is being plagued by a sadistic serial child abductor nicknamed the Grabber. His latest victim is 13-year-old Finney, who finds himself trapped in a desolate basement. When an old disconnected black phone on the wall starts ringing, Finney discovers that he can communicate with the Grabber's past victims, who are hell-bent on making sure he escapes their fate. I have a full review for this one on my channel, which I'll link above and in the description box below if you want to check it out. When this film first came out, there was so much buzz around it, and being in Australia, we had to wait before we could see it. I think we had to wait a month. It might have been 2 weeks or a month, but it felt like a really long time just because everyone was just saying how good it was on social media, and the FOMO definitely got me hard. And then I was also worried that the film wasn't going to be able to live up to the high expectations I now had, because we all know that it's so easy to be let down by a film going in with such high expectations. But my concerns were invalid. This is a fantastic film. Ethan Hawke is unrecognizable as the Grabber. He completely transformed for this role, and he just was amazing. And in addition to this, it just had really great casting across the board. Everyone did an amazing job, particularly the two protagonists. They were really, really good. When it comes to the scare factor, I didn't really find the film scary. Like, I felt like it was more of a thriller with some horror elements in there, but it was still dark and creepy. But yeah, I wouldn't go into this expecting a full-on horror film. The film's also quite humorous and emotional in parts, which I wasn't expecting, but I really enjoyed. I definitely recommend checking this one out if you haven't seen it. I gave this a 4 out of 5. I then watched Men. Following a tragic event, a woman retreats to the English countryside to be alone and heal in a secluded village. However, her serene oasis is soon disrupted when she notices she's being stalked by a stranger. I knew going into this that this film was going to be weird. Just by the poster, the name of the film, the fact that it's an A24 film, like, I just knew that this was going to be strange, and my God, were my expectations met and exceeded. So this film is a slow burn, and it has beautiful cinematography and a really great score. And it is quite unsettling and creepy at times as well. And I did enjoy about 3/4 of this film. And then the ending, oh man, things just went off the rails. Like, shit got weird. Like, too weird. The ending just let it down. Like, it'd have to be some of the craziest shit I've seen in film. Like, maybe one of the craziest things I've ever seen, but it just wasn't for me. It's also confusing. Like, I'm not 100% sure what it all means. Like, I know that what we're seeing is allegorical and it's quite straightforward, but it's also not, if that makes any sense. And I kind of get the gist of it, but I'm not convinced. And then there were some elements to the very end, which were even more confusing to me, and unless you've seen it, you may be picking up what I'm putting down, but if it was allegorical and I don't know. The performances were good in this, particularly from Jessie Buckley, who plays our main protagonist, Harper. And funnily enough, I've only ever seen her in one other film, which is I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which I hated. And unfortunately, much of the same vein, I did not like this film. I gave this one a 2 out of 5. Next on my list is Girl in the Picture. The death of a young mother, followed by the kidnapping of her son, sparks a decades-long investigation into finding out her true identity. So, Girl in the Picture is a true crime, feature-length documentary on Netflix, which was done by the same director who did Abducted in Plain Sight, which, if you haven't seen that, I do also recommend. This film was incredibly well done, and it didn't feel exploitative like some true crime documentaries can feel. And it did a great job at putting the victims in the limelight as opposed to the killer, which I thought was a really awesome choice. The case itself is incredibly sad and disturbing, and since becoming a mother myself, these type of documentaries really affect me on a whole nother level than they used to. And it's just hard to fathom that some people can be so evil. It's disgusting. True crime stories like this is scarier than any horror film that you can watch. It's just horrible. The film has a really powerful ending, which actually left me really teary, which is a testament of how effective it was. And despite the disgust I felt throughout the runtime, I did appreciate what the filmmakers did and the story they told. I think they did an excellent job. I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5. I then watched Chopper. Inspired by autobiographies and conversations with friends and family, this film is a portrait of one of Australia's most notorious criminals, Chopper Read. So I've been aware of this film for a really long time. I remember as a teenager, my dad and my brother loved this film. They would watch it quite often, and I just didn't have an interest in it at the time. But I saw it pop up somewhere recently, which made me just think, maybe I'll give this a go. Let's see what it's all about. And oh my God, I really, really liked it. Chopper is such a character. He's larger than life, and I saw a news article describe him as a mix of a larrikin and psychopath, which I think just is a perfect description. The film stars Eric Bana, and he just is phenomenal in this role. He actually has become Chopper Read in this film. It's crazy. If you watch interviews with the real Chopper Read, he's absolutely nailed how he talks, how he acts, his body language. He just transformed into him. It's just a great job. The film very much feels like a dark comedy. It's equal parts brutal, insane, and hilarious. It's just such an Aussie or Australian film, and I do really recommend it if you haven't seen it. It's definitely not like anything I've kind of seen before, but I really enjoyed it, and I surprised myself how much I enjoyed it. I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5. And lastly, I finished the month by watching Hounds of Love. Teenager Vicky sneaks out of her house one night to go to a party and is abducted by a deranged couple. After observing their dynamic, Vicky realizes she must use her wit to drive a wedge between her captors in order to escape their murderous intentions. I was actually recommended to watch this by one of the regular commenters on this channel. Shout out to Alejandro. I'd never heard of this film before, but Alejandro mentioned that it was Australian and loosely based on a real couple and true events. So that definitely piqued my interest, and I decided to give it a go. I'm happy to report that I loved it. The film is super twisted and disturbing, like really disturbing. And it is so tense. Like, I have no nails anymore. I bit them all off watching this film. It's seriously, I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. The performances are so good, and the main protagonist is actually intelligent and makes smart choices, which was just so refreshing to see. Just a warning though, this film isn't for the faint of heart. It's quite brutal and disturbing in parts, particularly in regards to SA or R word. It's pretty intense. You don't see anything on screen, but it's implied and it's pretty intense. The film also has a really strong ending, and I 100% recommend this if you can handle what I mentioned above. I gave this a 4 out of 5. That was everything I watched this month, so now I'm going to highlight what my favorite and least favorite films were for the month. For favorite film, I'd have to go Hounds of Love. I really enjoyed this film, so thank you again, Alejandro, for recommending such a banger. For least favorite film, that will have to go to The Unholy. I really didn't enjoy it and I don't recommend it. So that was everything I watched in July. Let me know in the comments below what you watched in July, and if anyone has any recommendations, let me know. I'm always happy to add a new film to my watch list. I also think it'd be a really cool idea if I watch at least one film in the month that was recommended by one of you guys, so then I can talk about it in my next video. I'm always down for recommendations, so let me know below. Anyway, I hope you like this video. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.